Council meeting, August 26, 2019. Flag salute, Ms. Perry. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll calls.
Mr. Kraus.
Here.
Ms. Damitz.
Here.
Ms. Glasser.
Here.
Mr. Lavasser. Mr. Valsha. Mr. Amendola.
Here.
Ms. Perry.
Here.
Mayor Bloom.
Here.
Solicitor Corbel.
Here.
Engineer Minsterman.
Here.
And Public Works Director Keselowski.
Here.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the bill list dated August 26, 2019.
So moved. Seconded.
I don't think you could second it, but I think Alice did. All right. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Motion for the approval of the minutes dated August 12th.
So moved.
2000.
Seconded.
All right. Discussion, questions?
Raised today.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to citizens' comments. Do you think this one qualifies as something on the agenda?
You can just announce it.
Okay, why don't we have Marlene come up and make your comments?
I only wanted to come by and thank you.
Well, come on up and
Okay. I'm very happy.
name,
I'm Marlene China. I live at 311 Clearview Avenue. And I came here to give you a thank you note. And I put Dear Coletta Perry. Would that be you?
that would be me.
Okay. Thank you for placing stop signs at the corner of Harris and Clearview Avenue. Also for cutting back the shrubs and tree branches so there's a better visibility for vehicles to see as a step or a steep coming up to Clearview Avenue. I'm so appreciative as my grandson gets off the bus and sometimes runs up the steps, and sometimes the vehicles would speed by even with the children standing at the top step right next to the street. The stop sign will help to slow down vehicles and prevent accidents. Thank you again, Crafton Borough, and all the workers that did that. I don't know who did that, but
That would be Rob and his department
Yeah, they
who
did.
took care of
I like how
that,
they,
and the mayor.
I liked how they cleared all that shrubbery back. I really like that.
Oh,
And
Thank you,
very much.
thank you.
Oh,
We- we- we're-
Thanks for coming in.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to acknowledge receipt of the written report, July 2019, treasurer's report, financial report, Act 511, and trash collection reports, property tax collection report, police report, EMS report, ordinance officers report, building inspection report, public works report, fire department report, and library report. Any questions or comments?
I have a question. Crafton Celebrates, that was the deposit. Did we have their expenses to see what was finally?
As those are being coded, they're being put in the Celebrates Fund, which I think is at the end of the financial report, so you can see all of that in there.
So when is that kind of a final report?
I would have to go and double check.
Okay.
I think that some things continue coming in kind of through this point of the year, last final invoices and things like that.
Okay, so then, once we think it's final, we can
Yeah.
take a look at the whole thing. All right. All right. President's report, there's not much new to report tonight, outside of the fact that we have a newsletter that will be in the mail shortly, that the borough staff has been working on. There's more new information on the website, so check that out. And I'm going to pass it on to the mayor.
And I've been working on a couple of issues that I can't carry out in the public, interdepartmental issues. And that's all I have to report at this time.
And I need to report that we had an executive committee involving personnel matters just ahead of this meeting.
And no action was taken.
Correct,
Okay?
yes.
And moving on to the engineer's report.
Yes, nothing to add, Madam President, to the report that we had submitted, other than just a minor update. The paving program, which we thought the contractor would be here around mid-September, is now toward the end of September. So that's a recent change. But other than that, the report stands as prepared.
Okay, and do you think this move to end of September is going to get us taken care of before bad weather?
I still think that, you know, everything's dependent on bad weather, and we'll continue to push them. It's just that they started to say some things the other day that didn't indicate they were going to be here in the middle of September, but things could still go our way. We'd just like to plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Are there any highlights from your report that you would like to bring to council and the community's attention?
Other than just, we're waiting for the response to the grants, the GROW grants, obviously, that's September, October. And also the new CDBG grant program is underway, and the manager is working with Gateway folks on deciding what types of projects would be submitted for those grant funds.
Thank you.
So,
Solicitor,
I have nothing to report this evening, Madam President.
oh, we are all short.
Longer, so I'm gonna lose today, Mr. Mayor.
Wait, get the time quick.
All right, so I just want to tack on to the engineer's report since we mentioned CDBG. I did receive some information from the two main people that we work with, the Gateway office, and they're looking at working on inlet upgrades on West Steuben Street. That's in that tract, census tract area where essentially you don't have to do the door knocking survey to confirm, you know, the income level is low, moderate, to get the CDBG funds. So they're looking at about applying for around $100,000 worth of inlet replacements, regrading on West Steuben Street.
Can you come back down a little bit?
Yeah, so the storm drains don't look great on West Steuben Street. They could be replaced or upgraded. So that's what we're potentially gonna put in for this year's CDBG.
Actually, we wanted to start, I took her out to the engineer and we looked at that previously, trying to control some of the storm water, especially down there in Duncan, McCormick, Linden down. That seems to be an area with floods out, and actually the police had to close it a few times because of heavy rains. So I believe we're gonna start with the locations that Duncan are working south back up Steuben to make a state drop type system instead of the Pittsburgh stuff.
And I see I skipped right over you, Rob.
No, you can skip over.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, no, but did I ask you if you had anything to report? See, I did skip over your agenda item. So is there anything else you'd like to bring up or back up to
Sure.
your spot on the agenda?
We have been pretty aggressive with our new paver, new old paver, but we've got an in-house paving program going. We're working on probably the three worst alleys that I consider in the borough, off of McMunn. They run from the dead end, crosses over McMunn to Dinsmore. So we have two of the dead end sections completed. We'll finish the third dead end section tomorrow, just a few ton of asphalt. And we'll start milling out and preparing the roadway for the sections between McMunn and Dinsmore. I mean, it's those situations that have been a problem area with runoff from the alleys that brought a lot of debris, worn asphalt. There was a high hump in the middle. We've been on it pretty consistent depending on the weather. We're probably finishing it up. It'll probably be in the next 2 to 3 weeks we'll have it completed. So that's probably the highlight of the public works right now.
Okay, back to you.
Sure. All right, what was I, oh yeah, CDBG. So the last kind of note about that is, there are several inlets that we could work on along that stretch. I think that sort of the strategy we're taking now is breaking them up over a couple grant years worth, because that just, that's a project that, again, it doesn't really require the legwork of knocking on people's doors and hoping that they voluntarily tell you how much money they make every year to see whether, that area qualifies for the grant. So that should break it up and give us sort of a multi-year plan, so we're not kind of looking for stuff to do around this year when it comes out. So, back to the things that I have written down on my manager's report. Agenda item detail, real quick. This meeting, we just have 2 voting motions. The first one is something that the chief of police, as usual around this time of year, requests to just add a couple part-time school crossing guards as necessary. We just have to vote to hire them, and of course they help out, Carlington School District. And then the other one on there is a resolution which we have to approve to sign the contract, sort of just re-upping the agreement that we have with PennDOT, where we get reimbursed for the plowing of the state road. Unless the Public Works Director has any comments to add to that.
It's just a standard contract that's done with PennDOT. We do the salting and plowing, that's it. We don't patch the potholes on state maintained roads. We don't do line painting. The only thing we're responsible for are the catch basins and the snow removal.
Yep.
Quick question, Rob, the crosswalk painted from the borough building to the corner, was that state that did that?
The contractor that actually did the resurfacing program last year came back and put the crosswalks in, and he put that one in, so.
We can talk about that in the discussion, if you want to discuss it further. All right.
All right.
Back to you, RJ.
Just a couple quick updates before we get to the more exciting one further down. Tree inventory update. Recently made contact with Brian, who's the person that is at the Penn State Extension campus that's been our main contact for, you may remember earlier this year and around budget season, we were talking about doing a full street tree inventory. That includes them sort of mapping them, giving them a rating condition, so we can create a more regular street tree maintenance program that includes pruning, figuring out what trees might need to come down, perhaps some spots where we might be able to replace ones that come down. Sort of just, a really full look where we can update it every year and visualize what's going on with our street trees. So on Penn State's end, they are just finishing up with their business management department, deciding whether or not they actually want to sign an agreement, whatnot. The price is around $6,000, and again, that was budgeted for in the shade tree section of the 2019 budget. So that should be starting pretty much any week now. We keep in touch and make sure that we're still on track. So just wanted to let everybody know that's still in motion. I know it's been a couple months, but they have some students from the fall semester that are taking on this project. Related to trees, I just wanted to draw your attention to something that we took care of the other week with the Allegheny County Conservation District. So they are in the process of planting some trees in different foliage up in, don't remember the exact names, one of the runs that goes through North Fayette that becomes a tributary essentially of Chartiers Creek. What they're doing is some sort of stream remediation when a lot of development happens, runoff, heavy rains, whatever. It can kind of erode the quality of the soil, the bank of streams, whether there are trees growing there, plants at all, and that contributes to flooding downstream because there's less plant life essentially to absorb the water higher up. So they essentially set out to everyone in the lower Chartiers Creek watershed a solicitation for just $50 to put in to plant some trees to support the volunteers that show up. So we went ahead and sent in that donation, and they'll be sending us the press release and sort of volunteer opportunity flyers if anyone wants to go down there and help plant the trees, which I can provide information as I get it to council on the exact dates and times for that. But just wanted to kind of let council know that we did our part. And it just seemed like a nice gesture, even if we aren't, an MS4 separate sewer system requirement community, which is sort of what they were targeting. But obviously we care a lot about stormwater runoff and flooding concerns, and this was just an easy way to support some remediation for that upstream. All right, the main attraction of my report tonight, the zoning ordinance RFP update. So I've got some exciting news for us. I believe there should be 7 copies here, so if you want to pass them out to the council members, that should cover 1, 2, 3 this way, cover 3 plus them there, so 4, and I've got 1 extra if we need it. So, this is just an informational packet that sort of summarizes the results of our RFP responses, the proposals that we received. They were due August 16th. We got 4, which is a nice showing, especially for a small community like us. We had 2 firms that were local to PA, a little more familiar to us. One firm that's got a regional office in the Pittsburgh area, and another one that is out of state, which is new for Grafton. We usually don't get national attention, but I think maybe that speaks to the fact that, you know, we have sort of an interesting project right now. We're in really a position that's drawing some attention with what could be done with transit-oriented development here. So essentially what I've prepared for council is just a general takeaway sheet, a list of each of the firms, some screenshots of the proposals, just sort of the non-confidential information that was submitted, timeline, location, approach, personnel, prior experience for your review. The first round is going to be a small group interview, and that would be a committee appointed by your council president for who goes ahead and engages those firms with the interviews, planning on bringing all 4 of them in. And from that process, there would be up to 2 firms essentially that would be selected to make a full presentation to council. So if any of you, I know that, you know, you're kind of looking at the packets right now that were passed out, but at the very back is a copy of the cover letters that they submitted with all of their proposals, just for your general review. But if anyone has any sort of overarching questions, comments to bring to the small group interviews, those are probably going to be occurring within the next week and a half that we're trying to get them scheduled. So now would be a great time, and I'll take them and bring them to the interview.
Any immediate questions? We can certainly discuss later, either later in the meeting or at our next meeting. Marcia, okay. All right, moving on then.
All right, last item, just very simple, wanted to put it on everyone's radar that we have some rec board vacancies. The terms currently end in September. However, the terms as they are newly appointed will end at the end of the calendar year going forward. We have the 2 new terms that were created by ordinance a handful of months ago. Those are unfilled. We have at least 1 term that is expiring, and the person who held it stepped down. So that will expire at the end of September, and then we'll, you know, be open. So essentially 3 completely open terms. And then we have 1 seated member, Mary Luxbacher, that is coming up on the end of her term this year. And so, you know, we would need to contact her, see if she's seeking reappointment, if that's something the council chooses to do. So just kind of wanted to flag it, that that's something that will need potential action before the end of September. And if you all, you know, are in favor of it, we can put an ad for letters of interest out in the local papers.
Okay, thank you.
Everything I got.
All right, moving on to the business agenda, looking for a motion to hire Karen Deonta and Ken Harper as part-time school crossing guards as recommended by the chief of police.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Under Public Works, seeking a motion to approve Resolution 2019-11, authorizing the municipal winter traffic services agreement with PennDOT during the winter seasons of 2019-20 through 2023-24.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, discussions? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So moving on to discussion items, does anyone have any topics they'd like to enter for discussion this evening?
Parking lot of school, the elementary school, what's going on with that, or?
Wait, you're saying the existing parking lot?
No, the parking lot that's supposed to be going in that,
Mr. Minsterman, would you like to explain that again?
Yes, that parking lot is related to the project for Crafton Boulevard, and that's related to the GROW grant. So in September, October, we'll get word on what the approved funds will be, and then take that back to council. Council can make a decision whether to proceed with the project. And if that is done, then part of that project is to install a parking lot at that location, because we'll be burying the tanks, the storage tanks, underneath that parking lot. So that is all part of the project, but obviously we're not there yet as far as even having an award to proceed with the construction of that.
So let's say we get approved by the end of the year and council moves forward, just in a overarching best guess scenario, this project will be wrapping up.
Well, it'll probably take almost a full year, so you've got, probably middle of next year before it would begin. So that's sort of the, end of, or middle of 2021.
When we would be finishing up, and I would imagine that would come at the tail end of the project.
Yes, that would be more on the restoration side, finishing the project.
Does that answer your questions? Okay.
What if the project is voted down by council? What's up with the parking lot?
Nothing.
They won't do that?
Nothing on our part.
Okay.
Nothing on our part. School board can do what they choose.
Well, they should still want to work with you to create better parking.
We can talk about that later. Has anybody else got anything that they would like to?
I was just gonna ask, on the Plan A version, if it is approved, can it be expedited so it can coincide with the start of back to school in 2021?
It's hard to say. It's a pretty large project with a lot of complications. So there's a possibility, because I'm just really roughing it here in mid, 2021. So, it could change by 6 months, either way.
That was my follow-up. What steps could be done now in terms of due diligence, discover the early effort, so that it's shovel-ready when it's approved?
It's designed and ready to go. So if they approve it, it can be let shortly after you approve it, and then it gets accepted. There's a GROW grant process that Alcoasand puts you through that takes, a month or two as well. So I would say by the end of the year, it could be ready to go to go out for bid. So
For context, this is probably by a magnitude of 3 or 4 the largest project the borough has ever attempted to undertake. So, but the engineers have, I think, to submit it in the first place, we had to have at least 60% of the project design to be shovel ready, and they've continued to work on it since then. So.
I just wanted to make sure there's nothing that can be done as we're waiting, so that we're not waiting on ourselves to be working.
Right, nope, we've done
thank you.
everything that we can. Roy, I'm gonna let you make your comment afterwards.
Sure.
And just, when they do get called on the audience, if they can come to the microphone.
Yeah. All right. Any others?
I have a number of them from the last meeting. You were, RJ, you were gonna look into the truck expenses for.
Yeah, so Rob can speak a little more specifically to that, but truck 109 is not the new truck, just to clarify. It's one of our older ones, and that was essentially inspection costs.
Yep, it went in for inspection, there's the number of issues that were wrong with it. Normally, if we had it like during the winter months, a truck like that would have been repaired, most of the work would have been done in-house. We have 2 good guys that work on our trucks on nighttime when they're not doing snow removal or nighttime maintenance. Unfortunately, this time of year, we're quite busy, so the truck goes in and for inspection, and it's a good truck. I mean, it's an old truck, I think it's a 2008.
That was a clarification. We were under, of the understanding it was a brand new truck.
No, it's not the new truck.
We discussed it last meeting, it was a new truck, and it seemed like
No.
a lot of money to put into a new vehicle.
No, it's an older truck, and, I was a little surprised to see the bill itself, but we'll get our money's worth out of that truck too. I mean, that truck's used a lot, snow removal.
Makes far more sense.
Yeah, no, that's
Older
a,
truck.
like I think it's a 2009.
When do you make a decision when to have it replaced?
I have actually replacement, equipment replacement sheet that I put together, I can show council whenever it be,
That's right.
maybe something for discussion.
Mhm.
I hold on to them as long as possible, as a matter of fact, if during different snow and ice events, if I have vehicles, I can put 6 people out, depending on the type of storm. We have 3 snow routes. To put 6 trucks out, I can take us half the time to do the snow removal with the 6 trucks and 6 operators. Again, that depends on the timing of the storm system. So I like to keep as many as I can. And that way, we have the ability, if one goes down, to be able to spare.
If people want to get out in the middle of February, that's a good insurance policy to spend their $800 now.
Yeah. Well, in regarding just sort of general equipment replacement, police cars tend to be on a little more of a regular schedule just because they put on such constant mileage. But when it comes to public works equipment, you know, you can get a lot more out of a truck than, say, a cruiser, but also in the last year, it was just last year, we bought the 5-ton dump.
Right.
Right, which was a significant, expense, but we financed it, we got a good interest rate. We're doing the same with our new street sweeper, so that's kind of where we're at the cycle for
That
replacement.
5-ton dump is probably saving wear and tear on the smaller trucks. Like, we're putting 6 tons of asphalt in that for the paving program. Those trucks, maximum they could hold is 3 tons, so they'd be running 2 loads to 1 with the 5-ton, and it's helping us expedite and get the project done even a little quicker. So the 5-ton dump is one of the reasons we wanted to purchase that, was to help us with our paving program. So, but the 5-ton's working beautiful. It's a good truck, everybody seems to like it, run it, they want to use it in the winter, so it's been a successful purchase.
Yeah, there were a couple more. I know that Phil and I have been talking about the measuring, I guess, is taking place on Grinnell and Grafton, so I guess we'll hear from that, what the
Yep.
options are.
Yeah, the engineer, well, I mean, and maybe if Rick wants to add anything to this, but we've already spoken with the traffic specialist engineer that we typically work with at Gateway. He's the same one that's doing our Green Light Go grants. So I believe the motion was by the first meeting of October. We might have it sooner than that, and then we'll bring it to council.
That's great progress,
Yeah.
thank you. And I missed it, the community development funds you were talking about the stormwater runoff, but there were also something you were gonna look into for the borough building improvements?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have a shovel-ready project for that. The reason that we targeted the stormwater inlets on West Steuben Street is because they are part of the census tract where we are just
No
permitted to do.
shortage of things that need done. Right.
Yeah, well, right, yeah, I mean, that's the easy, short way to put it. And, well, right, yeah, this year we're doing the inlet replacement, is the plan anyway, but, that could be a multi-year program on Steuben Street.
And it was kind of you have to pick something, that's what's being
Right.
picked, and there's no reason to believe that A, that probably will get funded, and B, there'll be more opportunities should other people have
Yeah.
other ideas.
The CDBG, anything where it's either stormwater inlets or ADA compliant, you know, sidewalk ramps, those are kind of the slant program, so.
And the other one that I didn't hear anything on, there were legal parking issues on Bradford parking lots. I'm not sure, it was up off of Bradford, there was a yellow line that was painted and nobody knew why.
Yes, I actually, one of the gentlemen that attended the meeting called me the next morning and kindly shared that the reason those lines were painted were to make sure that the school buses could, you know, the school buses and the garbage trucks could have the turn radius to get up into Bradford Court.
Should that be codified?
I mean,
Should that be
It's-
codified?
it's by the Bradford Court appointments.
It says one we looked at, Rob.
Oh, it's on Pratt Boulevard.
The borough cannot enforce a no parking zone that hasn't been adopted by ordinance. You can write a ticket, but somebody can challenge it and beat it. So it's really not enforceable. So if we want nobody to park there, you should pass an ordinance to that effect.
Paint seems like a simple deterrent, but it's not going to actually prevent
Didn't
it.
work today, the first day of school, they were parked.
So is that something we need to motion to discuss, or how do we move forward with that one?
Hey, you know what, if you want the solicitor to take a look at putting together the no parking zone, done. He's right here. You got your marching orders, Steve.
Yeah.
It's open discussion. Does anyone else have any comments on it?
Marcia, Brad?
Well, I was under the impression that the gentleman called you to inform you of the lines for regards to the turning radius, not specifically no parking, so I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, the turning radius, if you put a vehicle in that spot, the bus can't make the turn. So that's why there's no parking. So all they did was paint the sidewalk, or paint the curb, thank you. Which was a good effort, but maybe we should fulfill the full mile of it and codify the thing that way.
And
So I
Marcia
heard-
is saying that on the first day of school, there were people parked there, so the buses then could not turn.
Yeah, it's Bradford Court, that's exactly right.
So it's
Apparently there's a
on
yellow
the
line, I
Bradford
don't
Court
know
side?
the line, I'm sorry. If it's the one I think it is, it's kind of like a neon yellow, it doesn't even look like
Doesn't-
normal.
yeah, no,
The
you're
one
right.
between the alley and the driveway.
Yeah, and then up to the.
That's a stop sign right there.
You can't park
Park
the
there by the
stop
stop
sign
sign.
Anyway, yeah.
30 feet.
I mean, I
Between the
suppose it's
alley?
the same situation.
It's across the street, isn't it? It's on. it would be
Between
on
the alley and the driveway?
Southward
It
side.
goes from Bradford
It's on
Bradford?
down to the first house or
Yeah.
something.
There's no
They
stop
have
sign.
paint
Right at Bradford, right by the
Bradford down to the first house?
down toward the school.
On the
yeah.
Bradford
Okay.
Court side or the other
Let's, can we
side?
have someone look
On the
into
other side.
this?
That would be.
Can we, okay, so we're gonna start with Public Works, assessing what's
That
going
makes a
on
lot
down
more
there.
sense,
And
yeah,
then we'll
yeah.
talk a little
The
more
mayor,
about.
mayor and I will look into it. We'll
That'd be
Okay,
great, I'll make a note to bring it back up.
okay,
That's
Right,
great.
I'm done.
all right.
Yeah, we
Because
left it,
I think
the
some of
comment
them
was,
talked
where
about
did the
one
yellow
side.
Yeah,
lines
it's
come
not the
from?
scope
Yeah.
of
That's
the
about as much as we.
We looked at that last year, as a matter of fact. March asked me if we paid it, I said, no. We'll look at it.
And the last thing, I'd like to, just to formally jump on this, I understand that we have committees and they're doing a great job, but I really think that we need to be serious about it and jump on this as a group to immediately start developing a mission statement for Grafton Borough. I really think we need to do this as a top priority today.
Counterpoint, though, Madam President, is our mission not to govern the borough?
That was kind of what we had to say
Perhaps a
last
vision
week.
statement will
Right.
land a little better.
Sure, we should start
There,
somewhere.
yeah, there's
Yes.
info in the comp plan about that
Yes.
as well. We can talk about that for sure.
Yes.
All right, so,
I do,
If we could put that on, maybe even on the website and say that
Yeah.
we're open for suggestions from the
so
public,
let's
that would
be
be.
clear about whether we're talking, whether you're still talking about mission statement or vision statement.
I think both are quite important.
I do concur, Councilman Bouchow, joking aside, so I'd be interested in hearing, when we get that ball rolling, where you would like to see it started, what you would like to see.
I think we advertise on our website that we're looking for public feedback for 30 days. Wouldn't that be a good place to start?
Sure.
We can certainly do that. We can certainly do that. But as you say, there is information in the comp plan, and I think that may be a place to start as
Yeah.
well.
I'm hoping at the next meeting that between now and then I'll finish up essentially the status report of, it's been a year, where are we? Essentially, or 2 years, however many since the comp plan was finalized and adopted, but
That's right.
I've been here for a year Wednesday, so.
Congratulations.
Thanks, I survived. So in that, there is a particular point that speaks to crafting, and I mean, honestly, the couple sentences they have in there are pretty solid for just a general vision statement of, being a place that encourages investment, a good community for local businesses, different things like that. So I think that will be a really good jumping off point for that discussion, because I do agree that particularly a vision statement for the downtown revitalization is something that we would do well to have. So-
And I think that a mission statement is incredibly important to begin budgeting, because everything really should be governed by our mission.
So, Eric, I am not in no way dissing any of this at all, because I've pushed strongly for better and clearer communication. But how would you personally define a mission statement? Let's start there.
I would count on experts to advise us on that.
No, I'm not saying what our mission statement is, but how would you, who are carrying the torch, saying we need a mission statement, how would you define what a mission statement is for the general public to understand?
The mission should capture priorities.
Real quick,
Go
the
right ahead.
definition of a mission statement, according to Wikipedia, is a formal summary of the aims and values of a company, organization, or individual.
Sure.
So,
And it should also be the litmus test by which we pass every decision through. If, for instance, our mission were to serve the young people of Grafton Borough, then every decision we make as a borough and every dollar we spend, we should ask, is it in line with serving the young people of Grafton Borough? If it's to fulfill an obligation to the community, then every decision we make should be run past that litmus test. So it should be about what we aspire as a collective group to place our interests into.
Plus what we're allowed to do by state code.
Exactly.
Is there anything you'd like to say, Steve, about the mission of a municipality and what the state code dictates?
It's really silent on that topic. I mean, to me, this is an issue that council needs to decide if they want to go that far. I mean, obviously, our mission is to govern, but what more of a value statement is to, Forest Hill did this maybe like 15 years ago. And so they have it somewhere posted in their borough building where someone can look at it, but.
So that's really our, as you call it, a value or vision,
Yeah.
as opposed to mission. And I mean, those are different things, but
And I think that these are usually the big important piece of comprehensive planning when it comes to, you know, a municipality. I mean, that's what I speak to because that's what I work with. But, you know, any sort of other governmental agency, the general recommendation is you update those at least once every 10 years because your scope, your concerns, your demographics, all of those things change. And so if we're starting to construct sort of what our value statement is, it should definitely go back to the comp plan because that was so heavily based on public input, and that's sort of how they, you know, develop the priority areas that we're pursuing.
so then, as I know you've been working on that update, I would suggest that we have the update. It'll be a public meeting. It'll be available for anybody in the community to review. And then coming off of that, it may be very appropriate to put something similar to the RFP that you put together to be clear about what we are soliciting and put it out and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is something that's a 3, 4, 5 sentence, you know, I mean, I guess it could be longer, but usually the good ones are to the point and don't require a dictionary to figure out what exactly you're trying to get at. I think it's something that, you know, with a few key phrases and seeing what comes in from community input, council can easily workshop that in a session or two and, you know, get something solid out.
So I did a quick Google search of the words municipality, vision statement, and mission statement, and I came across just a random hit from the township of somewhere in California, I'm sorry, Head Clara, Maria, California. Their sample mission statement is 4 pages long. So
It's odd.
it would seem to me
Well,
that,
the solicitor said it's up to us to
Correct.
define it as what we
so I can sense that
We don't
there
need to
is
put more
some
people to sleep.
cognitive dissonance already arising in the room in which certain members of council and certain administrative staff members are loggerheads in their, what they think that this should look like.
Is anybody calling for a 4-page mission statement?
Eric, are you calling for a 4-page mission statement?
I'm calling on whatever the expertise guides us to.
Okay, well, let's, how about if we do the comprehensive plan update and then discuss this a little further? And if there's someone to advertise for community input or to form a committee to spearhead that, it'll come out of that.
When do you suspect you'll be ready for the next meeting?
For the, yeah, that's the goal.
So we're taking a two-week pause on this, and then we'll bring it back up.
Hey, if you have ideas, ready to go, I'll take them.
Oh, sounds great.
All right. Any other topics for discussion?
Hey Brad, did you tell me a few months, several months ago, that you read that book, that Crafton book? What's the name of that historical book?
I did.
I bet.
Yeah,
You said you read that a couple of times. Was there some kind of mission statement or vision
Yeah, we
statement
had,
in that?
yeah, there might have been, I have to get it out of the library again. It's actually a book that,
Written about Crafton.
Right,
It had-
yeah, I did too, yeah.
I think in the first couple of
Yep.
pages, there was some, maybe we could look at
Yeah,
that
that's not a
and
bad idea.
get an idea from the comprehensive
Great
plan and
idea.
just throw something together.
Is that Betsy Martin's book?
Yes.
Yes.
Betsy Martin's?
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
Betsy
the
Martin,
book was
that's right.
written quite a few
That's
years
who
ago,
wrote it.
well over 20 years ago.
I think there was stuff in there.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
much has changed.
All right. All right.
to the point of Mr. Vouchef vis-à-vis Mr. Amendola, I'm not sure if we want to throw something together and then make it a litmus test in which we filter through our decisions on budgeting. So we should probably decide whether we want to take this as seriously as some folks are advocating, or make it more of a 30,000-foot view, but not really legally council binding in any way. So, I mean, that's something that we would have to debate.
This is serious work.
Right.
It is serious.
Because it sounds like we're saying two different things here.
So what I'm hearing, and I just want to be clear, what I'm hearing is in 2 weeks' time, we'll have a summary of where we are from the very lengthy and very thorough and in-depth comprehensive plan and the update to that, which should, at a minimum, provide guidance to where we directionally want to go, albeit mission or vision.
Mhm.
With that, I'm hearing 2 volunteers that promised to get a copy of that book so that we have what's been done, because there's nothing that informs the future as well as the past, right? So if we had what had been done, albeit 20 years ago, we can see where maybe some of those things have changed, and maybe a lot of them are still very similar to what the values of our community have always been. So with those 2 data points at a minimum, in 2 weeks' time, we should be able to have a more serious conversation about
I
where we
believe
want to
we
take it.
will, and then figure out where we do want to take it, as, you know, as Brad has mentioned, how serious and, you know, how deep do we want to go with this?
Mhm.
Especially if your vision is that it's the litmus test. It seems like that has to be
Very important, yes.
important, which means that it's going to take a lot of thought.
Well, I added the book to my library card as we spoke.
There you
It's
go.
downstairs, so I'm sure I can pick it up tomorrow.
See that? Thank you.
All right, any other items for discussion on council? Okay, and I'm going to put community input on anything that we have discussed. I have, Roy, you've had your hand up. Would you like to come up?
For the announcements?
No, I said we would do we will do the comments and then we'll do the announcements.
Oh, okay, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So, no, Roy?
Oh, well.
That's what I was saying, it's because you've had your hand up, come on up, and
I apologize.
that's okay.
2 things. I wanted,
Roy
Eileen,
Beeman,
102 Haldane Street.
Thank you.
okay.
please.
Just a reminder.
Is that where I live?
That's where you live.
You have been nothing but fantastic. The
which you are you speaking to?
Councilwoman Marcia, she has been nothing but fantastic with taking care of
Senior center.
Thank you.
Would you
Number
like to
two,
sit back?
number
No.
two, number
Okay,
two.
all right.
I owe you a huge apology, and I wanted to make sure it was public.
It did not need to be.
Now I know, but you and I know what it was about,
We do.
and thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any other community comments at this time? All right, moving back to community announcements.
Grafton Pool Doggy Paddle will be held on September 7th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. The cost is $10 per dog. Also related to the pool will be closed on August 30th due to staffing availability during the back-to-school season. If other closures are necessary due to limited staff availability, they will be announced on Savvy Citizen as they occur. It really just depends on how many people we have available for lifeguards, if anyone gets sick, you know. But final day of the 2019 pool season will be Labor Day, September 2nd.
All right.
Before you move on, I did have one other discussion item really quickly. I just want to let the public know that, and members of council know that we had a flight committee meeting last Tuesday.
Yes.
And it was a really productive meeting. Myself, Ms. Perry, Mr. Lavasser, Ms. Kristen Shulo.
Julie.
Sorry? Shuley, pardon my mispronunciation. Mr. Neiman and Mr. Sabo were in attendance, and we did a bit of an informational brainstorming session, and the large takeaways were, we wanted to go back. First of all, we wanted to invite Susan to come and speak with the committee about her process. We also wanted to inquire as to some of the forms we had built out last summer with our interns. See if we can get those up and running again for some data entry from either the committee themselves or perhaps citizens that want to support the committee. And then I think the last thing we really took away was that we wanted to further inquire about applying for some interns to come back to help parse through some of the information and make sure that we're staying current with our mapping and our, like any additional auxiliary things that we would need that the administration could offset to a set of interns for those purposes. But I think we're going to meet again probably next month at some point in time, so anyone who wants to come is more than welcome. We'll advertise it on Savvy Citizen, and we will announce it when that date is set at council.
All right, thank you. And with that, meeting is adjourned. And we will meet in executive session for the real estate.